Manhattan's morning rush was just beginning when Sophie Bennett stepped out of the subway, the cold wind cutting through the scarf she'd worn since the night her life collapsed. Wall Street men brushed past her without looking up, their umbrellas dripping onto the courthouse steps where cameras were already gathering for Sterling Dynamics' big announcement. But Sophie wasn't here to watch. She was here because of a whisper she caught outside a midtown restaurant just minutes earlier. Grant Sterling's voice, low and triumphant. She signed with nothing. She won't dare show her face today. He truly believed she would stay invisible. That the woman he discarded would disappear quietly. Sophie walked toward the entrance, chin lifted, her heart pounding with something sharper than fear. And when Grant turned and saw her through the glass doors, rain haloing her silhouette, his smile faltered. "You're supposed to be gone," he muttered. Sophie didn't stop walking. "Then you're not watching the sky, Grant. My ride's already here." A thunderous roar swept over the courthouse, a Bombardier Global 7500 descending toward the private landing pad nearby, and every reporter turned. In that instant the power shifted. And the city understood. The woman left with nothing hadn't come to beg. She'd come to end the story he started. If this opening pulls you in, hit like and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales so you never miss stories that strike straight to the heart. The moment Sophie stepped through the courthouse doors, the noise swallowed her whole. Reporters clustered near the metal detectors, microphones raised like weapons, hunting for a headline. She kept walking, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor, steady and deliberate, the rhythm of someone who refused to break even when the world expected her to crumble. She could feel Grant's presence even before she saw him. His entourage arrived first. Publicists with glossy smiles, lawyers in $1,000 suits, cameras trailing behind them as if he were royalty. And then there he was, Grant Sterling himself, adjusting his tie with the calm arrogance of a man convinced the universe still answered to him. He hadn't noticed her yet. He laughed with the district councilman beside him. His voice smooth and polished, the tone he used when he wanted the world to forget what he was capable of. Sophie paused, half hidden behind a column. For a second, the memory of who she used to be flickered. The woman who once rushed to iron his shirts before meetings, who memorized his coffee order, who defended him when her own father warned, "Men like him don't stop taking." That version of her was gone. "Keep moving, Bennett," she whispered to herself. And she did. But when Grant finally spotted her across the lobby, his expression snapped clean. Confusion, then irritation. The performance charm slipped just long enough for Sophie to see the cruelty simmering beneath. "You shouldn't be here," he said when they met in the center of the lobby. His smile strained at the edges. "This case will be over in an hour." "That's so," Sophie answered softly. "Funny. I thought the truth tends to run late." Grant leaned close, lowering his voice. "You're embarrassing yourself. Walk out now while you still can." A flashbulb went off beside them. Cameras were picking up every angle. Sophie stepped back just enough for her voice to carry. "You said I'd crawl," she said. "But here I am. Standing." Grant stiffened. "You're still nothing without me." "And yet," Sophie said, letting every word land, "someone much more powerful disagrees." His jaw twitched. He didn't know about the jet. He didn't know she wasn't alone anymore. Grant hated not knowing. It rattled him in ways nothing else could. The bailiff called for the attendees to step inside. Grant's lawyers formed a wall around him as he entered the courtroom. Sophie walked alone, but she didn't feel alone. The truth was heavy, but so was resolve. Inside the hearing room, the air was cold and unbearably still. Sophie sat behind her attorney, hands folded in her lap. Grant's team dominated the opposite side, a small army in charcoal suits. Grant didn't look at her once. He didn't need to. His confidence radiated like heat off a summer sidewalk. When the judge entered, the tension snapped straight. Grant's attorney rose with a rehearsed bow. "Your Honor, this case is baseless. My client's wife signed a legally binding prenup. She left voluntarily. There is no evidence of wrongdoing." Sophie's lawyer stood, his voice calm but firm. Your Honor, this case involves far more than a marriage. We will demonstrate a calculated pattern of financial manipulation. Grant let out a soft laugh, just loud enough for Sophie to hear. Manipulation. She waited tables and queens. Sophie didn't respond. She didn't need to. She just watched him, memorizing the way his fingers tapped the table. 3 rapid taps in a row. Damon had been right. It was his tell when he lied. The argument dragged for nearly an hour. Every blow felt personal. Every insult aimed to remind her of her place. But the tide shifted when the judge asked the question Grant never expected. Mr. Sterling, can you verify the signatures on the offshore accounts tied to your company? Grant stiffened. A subtle twitch ran through his jaw. Those accounts have nothing to do with this case. That's not what I asked. Grant turned defensive instantly. Your Honor, I. Answer the question, the judge said, sharper now. Sophie leaned slightly forward. He can't, she murmured under her breath. Grant shot her a glare, the kind he once used when she didn't fold his shirts the way he liked. Except now she didn't feel small. She felt ready. Her lawyer stood again. Your Honor, we have reason to believe those accounts contain funds siphoned from shareholders. We intend to present evidence today. Grant's attorney sputtered. This is slander. It's discovery, the judge said. For the first time, Grant looked shaken. Not panicked yet, but the mask was cracking. A single bead of sweat formed near his temple, subtle but visible. The judge ordered a short recess. Sophie stepped into the hallway, inhaling carefully. The air tasted like disinfectant and nerves. As she reached for a water fountain, she heard Grant behind her. Footsteps quick and heavy. You think you're clever, he said, voice low and trembling with anger. You think you can win. She turned to face him fully. I don't have to win alone. Grant leaned in until she could see the flecks of gold in his irises. Whoever is helping you, they won't protect you from me. I don't need protection, Sophie said. I need the truth. And you handed it to me the moment you lied under oath. A crack ran through his expression, a moment of pure fear he couldn't hide fast enough. He stormed away, but his shoulders were tight, stiff. He knew something was slipping, something big. Back in the courtroom, tension thickened as Sophie's attorney connected the dots. Shell companies, forged signatory lines, unexplained transfers. With every page projected onto the courtroom screen, Grant's complexion drained a shade lighter. Then came the moment Sophie would never forget. Her lawyer displayed the scanned signature that appeared on all of Grant's offshore accounts. Sophie recognized it instantly. Name. His team froze. The judge's eyebrows rose. Grant swallowed harshly. Sophie, the judge said, did you sign this? No, Your Honor, she said clearly. I did not. Her attorney clicked to the next slide. A magnified analysis showing inconsistencies in the pressure strokes. Your Honor, he said, this signature was lifted from Sophie's old passport, digitally altered, then placed onto fraudulent documents. The room erupted. Grant's lawyer tried to object. Grant himself stood up, knocking over a glass of water. That's ridiculous, he shouted. She's framing me. The judge slammed the gavel once. Sit down. Grant sat, but his hands trembled now. His confidence was gone, replaced by a frantic rigidity. Every lie he'd rehearsed was unraveling faster than he could salvage. And Sophie watched it all with an unblinking calm, not out of cruelty, but out of closure. She wasn't the woman he left in the rain. She wasn't the woman he blackmailed with her father's hardware store. She wasn't scared anymore. When the recess ended, the judge made his ruling. Mr. Sterling, until we determine the authenticity of these documents and the extent of potential fraud, I am freezing all Sterling Dynamics assets effective immediately. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Grant's breath hitched audibly. All travel privileges revoked. Passport surrendered today. You are not to leave the country under any circumstances. Grant shot to his feet. You can't do that. My company, my board. Your situation, the judge said, is of your own creation. Grant's attorney tried to calm him, but Grant shoved him away, voice breaking under the weight of his own unraveling ego. This is her fault, he yelled, pointing at Sophie with a shaking hand. She ruins everything she touches. Sophie stood unshaken. No, Grant, she said, voice steady enough for every camera in the room to pick up. You did that all by yourself. Security approached as Grant lunged toward the bench, screaming that he deserved respect, that the world was turning against him. But the more he shouted, the more the truth exposed him, not as a titan, but as a man terrified of losing the power he never used responsibly. The bailiffs restrained him and led him out of the courtroom as reporters sprinted after the unfolding chaos. Flashing lights reflected off the polished floors. Grant's shouts echoed down the hallway until the doors swallowed the sound. Sophie exhaled slowly, the weight of years lifting with the softest, quietest release. And behind her, whispers grew into murmurs. That's her, the ex-wife. She stood up to him. She exposed everything. For the first time, the world wasn't laughing at her. It was watching her rise. She walked out of the courthouse with her head high, not triumphant, not prideful, just free. Grant, meanwhile, spent the afternoon in federal custody, being questioned by investigators he once believed he controlled. His frozen accounts flashed across every news network. Sterling Dynamics stock plummeted in real time. Actions had consequences. And this time he couldn't buy his way out. But Sophie's story wasn't finished. This was only the beginning. And the real reckoning, the one he never saw coming, was still waiting for him. When Sophie stepped outside the courthouse that afternoon, the city felt different. Not quieter. New York never quieted, but clearer, as if the noise finally knew who it should bow to. She paused at the top of the steps, letting the cold breeze brush past her, not as an enemy anymore, but as a reminder of everything she had walked through to reach this moment. For years she had accepted the version of herself that other people wrote, the wife who stayed silent, the woman who shrank to make room for someone else's shadow. But standing there, with Grant's downfall echoing behind her, she understood something simple and sharp. Power wasn't given, it was claimed. And she had claimed hers inch by inch, truth by truth. Damon joined her at the bottom of the stairs, not offering praise, not offering comfort, just presence. So, he asked quietly, what now? Sophie looked toward the skyline, where the glass towers caught the fading light like a promise. Now, she said, I build something that lasts. Something that's mine. And for the first time, the future didn't feel like a threat. Felt like an open door. If this story moved you, please like, share, and help Canada's Heartfelt Tales grow by subscribing. Your support lets us keep telling stories that resonate long after the screen fades.